evening, welcome to the programme. There's only one topic of conversation here this evening, and we've selected two guests accordingly, and we're absolutely politically correct. Brexit, you can forget about that, even though one of my guests tweets about it all the time. I'm sorry, Chris Turner, we will not be mentioning that subject on the programme this evening.
We'll leave it.
You're leaving, are you? Are you leaving? And Kevin Gage. Kevin Gage, the former Sheffield United player. We've got two friends of the show here. No stranger to our viewers. Former Sheffield United, former Sheffield Wednesday player and manager. Both looking forward eagerly to Monday at Hillsborough. And Chris, you've been back there quite a few times lately.
Yeah, it's certainly changed since Steve has arrived. Different. Certainly, the last two games have been, I would say, the word excitement's come back. Team have performed well and deservedly won the two games, so they're going into the game on Monday in a much better frame and spirit than what they were maybe 6 weeks ago.
And what a great setup, Kevin, with Sheffield United second. And I think a few weeks ago we had this conversation. You'd have probably been talking about how many of the Blades were going to win by. It's not quite as easy to call it now with Sheffield Wednesday 6 points off the playoffs. I know might be a pipe dream, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, you can make a case that Sheffield Wednesday picked up in form, but they couldn't get a lot worse, could they? Let's be honest.
No,
they were poor. We're top of the form league table, I think, after the last 10 games. But we've been consistently good for the last 5 months, really. Yeah. So we've been exceptionally good for the last 10 games, and especially the last 3 or 4 games. We've been outstanding, even though we let that lead slip against Aston Villa, which was incredible. But we would have been even further top of that form league. So yeah, we're on the crest of a wave, really, and I see no reason to see why it should come crashing down on Monday.
Right, okay. We're going to have a look at that form table later, because I've had some help tonight from your friend of mine, James Sosick of Blades Analytics, who's made quite an impression on social media and quite an impression on the football industry with his statistical analysis. Sadly, for family reasons, which I'm glad to say are now being in the process of being resolved, James couldn't join us this evening, but he has furnished me with quite a number of graphics and some on Sheffield Wednesday, which are very positive indeed. Where do you two start? I know you're a convert, Kevin, to statistical analysis. Chris, are you a dinosaur?
No, I think the modern game today is all about this sort of analysis for managers and coaches and even players. They're brought up now with all these stats, even from the young age groups now, 13, 14 in academy one clubs. So it's something that the game has grown with. There's a lot of managers who would say, yeah, I look at them, but we have them because everybody else has them. I mean, I'm a great believer at the end of the day, your eyes are your best judge. These will back up, I think, what you see, and they'll also give you a bit of knowledge on if a player's not performing as well as what he has been. These stats, you look at them and there could be something in there that can help the player, help you decide whether the player fits back into the team or not. Young
supporters have a particular thirst for them, don't they, with Football Manager and games like that. They live on them. There's a great desire and appetite. Owls About Stats as well have helped me one or two stats for this programme. For instance, Stephen Fletcher, a stat I saw from Owls About Stat, a couple of guys there, James Marriott, who's been on the show as well, and also Peter Lerman, I hope I pronounced his name correctly. 20 aerial duels. He won 20 aerial duels during Sheffield Wednesday's win over Brentford on Tuesday. I know you picked up on that as well.
Yeah, I saw that and I was surprised, yeah. I don't know whether Wednesday have changed their style, maybe going a bit more direct with those kind of numbers.
Getting forward quicker, I think.
Yeah, maybe so, yeah. But that's obviously where stats will help, because Chris will have all that information and the coaching staff. So the two centre halves, the 3 centre halves, isn't it? Sheffield United will be aware of that and obviously be more than up for the battle. But as Chris says, you have to take stats selectively sometimes, because you can blind players and you can get very confused with lots of them, because some of them are quite meaningless. Yeah, they're just there because they are there. So you just pick out what you want. Just going from my point of view, you mentioned I'm a convert, but Wimbledon were doing this. I don't want to keep harking back to the past, but we were doing this in the mid-80s, and we literally had a guy with a notebook in the stand marking off how many times we got into the opposition half and how many crosses I'd got in, and and it was that basic. And then we got these big thick reports coming through that we all had to listen to Bassett going through. So it's not something new, but it's just evolved, hasn't it, with technology?
I think it's becoming, the public and media are getting involved in it more than they did, whereas it was just a professional industry.
Yeah, the fans are far more aware of what's actually the facts and the stats behind what looks like a good performance when you watch it Saturday. You can get on particular websites and analytics sites and just make sure your eyes are not deceiving you.
Yeah, sometimes your eyes do deceive you, and your player catches the eye, and he's actually made no meaningful passes whatsoever. You get a busy player.
But a manager will know. A manager and coaching staff will know whether that player's done something in the game that's worthy of his place.
Okay, part two, we'll recap on your history, both of you. You never played in a derby, but you managed in a derby. You narrowly missed playing against each other. You played in quite a number of derbies, Kevin, for the Blades.
Yeah, I think it was 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly, to be honest. I was trying to remember on the way up. It's something you think you should remember, but I can't remember whether I played in the second away one. So my first experience was I just joined from Aston Villa on the Thursday, and I think we played on the Saturday or Sunday. So I was on the bench, and I didn't get on, but we won 2-0, and that was the first derby when the Blades were back in the old First Division. I played in the following derby, which was away, which we won 3-1, which everybody keeps going on about, the Bobby Davidson derby, the 2 goals. And then I think I played in the next 2 league games the next season, and that was including the Cup semi-final, which we don't like to talk about from the
Why not?
Sheffield United point of view, because I don't think we turned up.
The main game.
I don't think we turned up. So yeah, I've experienced 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah, quite a number. Yeah, but as I say, we'll look in a bit more detail at that part two. What sort of game are we expecting on Monday? Because we had a bit mixed bag last season, and in the first one at the Lane this season, 2 goalless draws at the Lane. Where Wednesday, for reasons of recent form and whatever,
they're part of the bus.
They're part of the bus.
They're part of the bus.
We're not going to see that sort of game this time, are we? Surely. No,
I don't think Sheffield United won't change their successful way of playing, so they're going to be on the front foot. I mean, last season at Hillsborough, we were embarrassing in the first half an hour. Sheffield United got two very early goals. We were just slow out the blocks, and this game on Monday, I would imagine that, as has been shown in recent games, that Sheffield Wednesday will be on the front foot more than what they would have been a few weeks ago, the game will be down to chances, and Billy Sharp obviously is the major threat for Sheffield United, and they've got to keep him quiet. And from our point of view, Stephen Fletcher's in a rich vein of form, and if he can keep that going, it gives us a chance.
There's not much in a draw for either team, is there? I think at this distance for Blades it will be maybe 2 points dropped in the push on for promotion, and Wednesday it didn't give them any bragging rights back. So let's hope it's the spectacle, with so many people watching in, that it wasn't in the previous 2 games, and that it was in that 4-2 at Hillsborough, though not for everybody.
No, I mean that game was for the neutral.
Yeah.
was a good game. I mean, I've got to say, I used to love watching the boy Brooks play. I still do now at Bournemouth. I thought he was outstanding in that game. And Sheffield United themselves will be confident of winning this game. I know Chrissy Wilder and his players, they'll be confident of winning on Monday, and probably quite rightly say, if they were not to win the game, they'll be very, very disappointed.
Are you confident of Wednesday winning?
I'm not confident of winning, but I am more confident that they'll put in a performance against them and have a go at them. And as a fan, that's all you ask of your team. I think in the last 2 or 3 games against Sheffield United, it has been embarrassing. And to celebrate a 0-0 with 1 shot on goal in 90 minutes, it showed you how dire we actually got to. And now we live in hope now with Steve and his team in place. We are playing forward much quicker, and it's as though the players have been shown where the opponent's goal is on the field. So the passes are forward,
Predictions later, but let's have a major selection prediction now. Gary Medine is going to occupy a lot of column inches and a great deal of probably hot air between now and kick-off time on Monday for reasons of history. The former Sheffield Wednesday striker with Sheffield United, doing a great job, made a big impact for them. Now then, is Chris Wilder going to start him or not? What do you think?
Well, you asked me the question 5 minutes ago, didn't you? And I said no. That's just my opinion, because I think McGoldrick has done exceptionally well in his previous couple of performances, and he fits our style brilliantly, because he drops off the front two, or Billy Sharp up front, and he drifts around and he links up play and he makes things happen. Now, I've since been found out that the Sheffield Wednesday centre-halves aren't brilliant in the air, and Medine could maybe ruffle some feathers up there. So maybe Chris might throw him in from the start, and maybe bring McGoldrick on with 60 minutes, 75 minutes gone, you know, just when there's a bit more space, if needed, of course. Gun
to my head, I'm going with Medine to start. What do I know about it? What about you, Chris? What do you think?
You know, as Kevin said there, it's a great choice for Chris Wilder to have. McGoldrick's in great form, Nadine's in great form. I think that Chris will sit down, they'll analyse Sheffield Wednesday's back four. Can they utilise Nadine's aerial power and his aggression? It will certainly be a tough game for Tom Lees and Hector if Nadine does play. I think he may play. I think the signing of him, and this is where Sheffield United's got their recruitment spot on, they knew it was going to be controversial for obvious reasons, but he is a player that will get him over the line, or give him a great chance of getting over the line. And he's always a good one to throw on if you're needing goals or needing chances, or create some panic in penalty boxes for the opponents, for obvious reasons, with the obvious players around to pick up the chances. So, you know, Chrissy Wilder's got a dilemma, but it's a great dilemma to have. We, at the other end, we've got Fletcher in form. Forestieri is sadly lacking in match practice, because we know on any game he could be a match winner. Yeah,
Fletcher's a handful, although Sheffield United's back line, albeit that they rely on one centre-half and the two other centre-halves are overlapping a lot of the time, seem to handle any kind of a threat. You're sort of indicating you think Medine might cause a problem that Sheffield Wednesday might not be equipped to face or deal with?
There's not too many teams now that have centre forwards playing of aggression. If you look at most teams play with one man up front as well, and he tends to be a mobile striker. I just think that it's going to be an intense atmosphere, and you want your players to be in and there and be aggressive and get about the opponents. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Nadine doesn't start.
No. Right, nor me. Let's have a look at a graphic now. This is based on if the season had started now, supplied to me by Owls About Stat pair James Marriott and Peter Lerman, and whoever else is working for them. Now, there we are. There is a table. If the season had started the day Jos Lukai left Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday would have been there in fourth place, just on goal difference behind the two teams just above them, Hull and Bristol City, with a record there of played 12, won 6, drawn 5, lost 1, 23 points. But to pick up on Gage's earlier point, there we are on that current form table, Sheffield United still out there, 27 points. So, you know, that supports Sheffield Wednesday's revival under Steve Bruce, but it also illustrates just how United are steaming along, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, tables like that are great, but you could have took that back another 2 weeks or something. You know, we'd be even further up, wouldn't we? So it's subjective. That
yeah, it's credit to Lee Bullen who began that turnaround, by the way. You know, before Steve Bruce and his management team came in. But it is quite telling of the improvement that's been made, and there's a consistency of selection now, isn't there? It's only if you get an injury that you're having to.
Well, I mean, I hate to keep going back to the Joss period, but when you're changing a back four and not just one player, but two, three, four players sometimes after a decent performance, and then going back and changing your back four, not playing, no disrespect to the goalkeeper at the time, not playing the best goalkeeper, one of the best keepers in the Championship, not picking, you know, the better players in front of the back four and not playing them. No wonder Sheffield Wednesday were in the bottom 8, 9 in the division. Now, because Lee Bullen took over, and within 24 hours, 2 or 3 of them players went straight into the team. They won the game. They won the next game. I think they drew the one after that. So it's not rocket science. No. It just showed how badly the club was operating at that time, whether it was Joss alone or Joss and others. But it just shows, and the improvement in them. The squad is good enough to be challenging for playoffs. The squad is good enough to be challenging for playoffs from the start of the season if they're playing. But if they're not playing and they're sitting in the stand and other players are struggling out there and they kept changing the team, no wonder that's where we were.
Okay. You were making a point.
I made a good point about squads and what has been superb about the last 3 or 4 weeks from Sheffield United's point of view is we've achieved these results. We've basically had to change 4 of the back 5. There's only John Egan who's been played every game. Kieran Freeman came out of the cold and has played brilliantly well, now giving the manager a selection problem. Craney came in and was superb and set the goal up for a 1-0 victory against West Brom. Ender Stevens is converted from a wing back to a left centre half and has been brilliant. Yeah. You know, so we've had players coming in, which shows the strength of the squad that we have at the moment.
And whereas you could predict the lineup almost every week, 1 to 11, you can't actually.
2 months ago, you could have put your hat on the Sheffield United lineup. You know, now we've also got Kieran Dowell. Yeah. Now, Mark Duffy for me was first name on the team sheet 3 months ago, and now Dowell comes in and has been brilliant.
It's remarkable. Let's just have a breakdown anyway, and this comes from a Blade. This is from James Sosick of Blade's Analytics, showing Wednesday fans how big the improvement has been under Steve Bruce. We'll have a look at this. It'll show kind of from left to right. There we are. Figures under Jos Luhukay on the top, and since Jos, expected goals per game. That reflects on the quality of chance created. So it's up to an expectation of 1.26 goals per game as opposed to 1.09. Goals against, looking in from the left to right, predicted again has gone down based on the opportunities that are not being given the opposition. Shots per game, that explains itself, getting a couple more in per game, and shots against are going down. Now that last one is of particular interest, I think. It's the pressing rate. Basically, that one it reflects allowing fewer passes to teams looking to play it out from the back, getting after defenders. Which
I think the last 2 home games, Swansea and Brentford, both those teams had emphatic wins prior to playing Wednesday in their last home games. Both teams like to play football. Now, and since Steve now plays a higher pressing game, so both those 2 teams were not allowed to pass the ball wherever they wanted to and try and build up a good passing game to cause Wednesday problems. When you press teams, they make mistakes.
And that's where there's a similarity with the Blades approach, obviously.
It's absolutely right. You know, people talk about the creativity of the Blades and the overlapping wing backs and this, that and the other, but they work so hard, you know, they really do. And it's the absolute desire, isn't it, to... all the teams are fit, all the players in the league are fit, fully fit, but you make that split-second decision to close that person down, to do that 10 yards that way, to make sure, you know, he's not going to come at you for 10 yards. And you have to teach that. It's inbuilt in you, you know, that's going through the whole squad. They all do it, one after the other.
I think it comes from, I think Chris has been there 3.5 years.
Yeah, about. 2 complete,
two and three quarters
seasons. His third season.
Yeah. When was the last time Sheffield Wednesday had a manager that lasted that long? It's a long time ago. But what I'm trying to say is they've recruited players from day one. I mean, he took over a decent squad that were down near the bottom.
10 seconds.
But he's put this work ethic into the squad thereafter.
Thanks, Chris. Sorry to cut you short there. There's going to be loads more of this.
All right.
24 minutes more of this from Chris and Kevin. James will join us as well after the break. So rejoin us in 5. See you then.